Hey y'all, I'm Hope. Welcome back to my channel. Today's goal is basically to do some cleaning. That's both in general and for the video specifically. I'm at this point in the beginning of the year where I'm trying to kind of like get ready for the year, if that makes sense. Like I'm trying to do some cleaning, get my spaces kind of freshened up, get my life and my YouTube's plans and everything just kind of organized and ready to go for the new year so that those aren't becoming like stumbling blocks for me later down the road. And so one of the things I've been wanting to do for the beginning of the year, and something I've just kind of been wanting to do for a while now as a part of this, is clearing out my currently reading. I want to say it was like last fall, I made this video that was what I called my pile of shame. It was all 17 books that were currently on my currently reading list on Goodreads and how far I had made it through them when I had actually started them. And so I made that list in the hopes that I would then actually read them, and I just kind of haven't. I've read a lot of other things since then, but I have not necessarily prioritized the things that were on that pile of shame list. So today I want to go back through and see what's on my currently reading as of today and spend some time paring down that list and just trying to kind of figure out what am I really going to prioritize and what can I go ahead and like set aside? What do I want to DNF because I'm not that interested in finishing it? Those kind of things. I suspect a lot of these are going to fall more into that like I want to set it aside and come back later category than actual DNFs, because there's nothing on my currently reading that I remember that's something that I'm like not in some way enjoying. But I just need to get this kind of pared down, because this list I have found when it gets long like this and kind of unruly starts to put a lot of pressure on me, and it's pressure that I like create for myself. It's not really real pressure, but I start to feel like I can't start new things because, well, there's already a bunch of other things am I currently reading that I should be reading instead. And so I end up kind of like not reading anything because I keep not wanting to start something new because of the list, but I also am not necessarily in the mood for something that's on the list. So that being said, I think let's just dive in. I'm going to screen record and I just want to take a look at this list, see what's on it, and then I will grab the books and start the process of actually paring down and seeing what I want to truly prioritize for the next couple of months. Okay, so I've got my want to read pulled up, or not my want to read, my currently reading pulled up, and they're currently sorted by date started most recent to oldest. I think I'm going to swap that and sort it from oldest to most recent, and we'll run through it. I just want to like look at what books are on the list and when I actually started them, and then we'll grab all those books and I want to talk about them a little further and about like why they've been kind of languishing on this list, because I think that's going to help me decide what I really want to prioritize versus what I want to like set aside and come back to later. So let's go ahead and hit date started. Okay, so the oldest thing on my list is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, which I started in December of 2020. So that's been a while ago. And we have The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, May 2021. The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix, been on here since August of 2021. Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff has been here since September of 2021. And then Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, March of 2022. Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, April of 2022. Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee, May 2022. Jade War by Fonda Lee, June 2022. The Secret History by Donna Tartt in September of 2022. Leech by Hiron Ennis in December of 2022. The Twyford Code at the beginning of last year in January. And that's by Janice Hallett. Woman Eating by Claire Coda, which I started in March of 2023. Finlay Donovan is Killing It, which I started in April of 2023. Guardian by Priest, which was August of last year. Then The XX, which I started in October for Spooktober. Or no, Spookoplathon, that one. And then A Restless Truth by Freya Marsk, which I started in November. Legends and Lattes, which I started in December. And then also Before They're Hanged, which I started in December. So that is quite the list. How many does it tell me that is? It's 18 books. And some of these have been on here for a very long time. I'm surprised, but also unsurprised that Black Sun has been on here since 2020. That's just, like, it feels like it hasn't been that long, but also, like, time has been weird since 2020. So, like, I'm not terribly surprised that it's been that long. But yeah, some of these have been on here for a very long time. There's fewer here from like 2020 and 2021 than I thought, but there's a lot from 2022, so and a lot from 2023 as well. So clearly I've been doing this a lot more in the last like couple of years. So I'm gonna go grab those books and we'll start leafing through them. I'll talk a little bit about how I think they've ended up on this list, and I'm gonna start, I think, pulling some bookmarks out and putting some things away because I really need to get this cleared out. So let me go grab those and I'll be right back. While I was grabbing those, I realized there was a 19th book that should have been on that list, but I forgot to actually log it in Goodreads. But that was Priory of the Orange Tree. This is actually the book I'm currently reading. I was actually reading it earlier today. So this one will be staying. It's my actual current read, but I just wanted to note that this is also on the list. So the correct number for that should have been 19. And yeah, gonna continue on with that one. Obviously, it's a buddy read I'm currently working on. The other one that is definitely kind of continuing on because it's my other active read is Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. I started this one right at the end of December and I intend to continue on with it. So this is my other kind of active read that's truly a currently reading book. So now we're gonna go through these in the same order, going from the oldest to the newest, and I can already foresee a lot of these are going to be moved into, like, I'm coming back to this later. Starting with our first book, which is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, which was here since 2020, which is wild to me. Now, this is a book I know I'm going to be reading at some point this year. The third book in this series is coming out, and I have plans to read Black Sun and Fevered Star some point this year prior to the release of Mirrored Heavens, hopefully, but I'm not 100% sure of when I'm going to get to them. But it's a series I know I'm planning to read this year, and I definitely need to restart it. I remember a lot of it, but it's been so long that I don't think that I'm going to have like the best reading experience I could if I continue on from where I'm at, because I'm like 150 pages into this book and I haven't touched it in like 4 years now. So I am going to be, I think, removing the bookmark from this one and putting it back on my shelf as soon as I find the bookmark. So that's where my Reindeer Readathon bookmark was. I started this Reindeer Readathon in 2020, which is wild to me. But I am going to go ahead and take out that bookmark and set this one aside to go back on the shelf to be started again later. Then we have The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno Garcia, another book I was really loving. I think her writing is just lovely, and I really was enjoying Nina, the protagonist of this. There's a lot of like interpersonal drama and politicking happening. This is such an interesting, like Austen-esque fantasy novel, and I just really was enjoying this. But it's another one that it's been a very long time since I've read any of it, and I don't really remember what was going on. So I think it's another one I need to take the bookmark out of and start it again later. This was, I think, another one I started for a readathon, although I don't remember which readathon, and I, for whatever reason, didn't finish it, which is wild to me because I love Silvia Moreno Garcia's writing and I never don't finish her books. So this was like a really strange entry on this list. This should have been read when I started it, but I think I might have been in a slump at that point. I don't really remember at this point. This was fairly early 2021. So anyway, this one is going to go back on the shelves to be read later. I do have some plans, I don't know if I'll get to it this year, but maybe next year, to do like a binge read of the kind of handful of outstanding Silvia Moreno Garcia novels I have on my shelves, because I just love her writing so much, and I have like a handful that I haven't gotten to yet, so I really want to get to them, but this is going to be a problem for future hope, I think. Then we have the final Girl Support Group. I'm coming up with that because there is a book club called the Final Book Support Group. Anyway, we have the Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix, which is another one that I started for a project, actually, not for a readathon. I was planning to do a project reading like a bunch of the Final Girl books that had come out in the last couple of years, kind of inspired by a very snarky tweet by Riley Sager where he was kind of being rude to Grady Hendrix about having published this around a couple of years after Sager published The Final Girl. And so I was planning to read this one, The Final Girl, and also Stephen Graham Jones' The Last Final Girl, and kind of talk about all three of them in connection. That's why I was annotating this. But I think what I found was that I got bogged down in this one. I wasn't really in the mood for it, and I ended up reading The Final Girl like a few years later. So I think this is another one that it's been a very long time, and this bookmark is coming out. Did I already take the bookmark out? I already did take the bookmark out. Okay, well, I'm ahead of myself on this one. The bookmark is already removed from this book. I think I also want to go back and maybe take out all of these tabs. I was highlighting because I was planning to do like a whole video kind of talking about how these books were using this trope similarly or differently, but I think I'm gonna continue on with this one at some point without continuing to highlight. So I'll probably take these tabs out at some point, but that is another problem for future hope. Next up is Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff, and this is yet another one that's going to continue the trend of I started a book in like a series, and now it's been 3 years and I need to set it aside because I definitely need to restart this one. I do remember a lot of this book. However, there were a lot of characters, especially in the section I had just gotten to when I stopped reading. And I don't actually remember why I stopped reading this one either. Probably school, if I had to guess, because this one's chunky and I was reading it in the fall, so school would be a fairly safe bet. But I remember I was having a good time with this. I was also reading this for my friends' like cursed books club thing that we do. I was kind of like reading this and telling them about it, so I think they kind of got the short end of the stick there because I just suddenly stopped reading it and didn't ever finish telling them about it. But I do want to go back and restart this one because there's so many characters that had just been introduced and I no longer remember who they are. Plus I have a new note-taking system I want to use because I was taking some notes in this. I didn't want to like mark in the nice special edition that I have, so I was using like sticky notes. But I recently got a new kind of note-taking tool that I want to use. But there's some things that I was keeping track of that I thought were fun or entertaining that I want to collate into my new note-taking system. So I will be returning to this one as well. This is not a permanent DNF, but as much as it pains me to take out my 250 pages of progress bookmark, this one is also gonna go back on the shelves for a later date. Yet another first book in a series that I started and then set down, and I think another one where I've already taken the bookmark out. I'd only made it like 30 pages or so in this, but The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I'm very excited for this. I've heard nothing but good things. I think it's going to be fantastic, and from what I had read, I was really enjoying the writing style and the characters. I just set it down. And this one I genuinely don't remember why. I just didn't ever pick it back up at some point, so I want to come back to it at some point. I've heard so many good things, and I'm really curious to see how I feel about John Gwynne's writing because I know a lot of people also really love his Faithful and the Fallen series, so I really want to give this one another shot. For yet another one of those in a row, Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. I have tried to read this book twice. This has been kind of temporarily DNF'd twice. It's one I still plan to come back to. Did I actually take out my bookmark in this one? No. This one does have the bookmark in it. I made it to page 86 or 87 the last time I tried to read this, and I'm gonna have to restart again because I once again no longer remember what's going on other than she had made it to the capital of whatever this place is called and was starting to train for some sort of like assassin trial or something. If I bounce off of it a third time, I'll be sad because I have the whole series and I was gifted the whole series for Christmas one year, so I really want to give this another shot. I think I just need to get through this like initial hurdle and then I'll probably be fine. This is just another one that's languishing because I'm bad at continuing series. Finally, for something completely different, I have a standalone, Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee. This is a debut that I was reading. I was very excited for this book. It's a heist story about a group of Chinese American students who are pulled together to do some heists, basically reclaiming artifacts that have been stolen from China and are displayed in museums across the world. And so it's a bunch of like students doing heists. I think that sounds like a lot of fun, and I am really enjoying the story of this one. However, I think that the character voices are a little bit samey, so it's a little hard to kind of keep track of who's who, and at the time that I was reading this I had a lot going on, so I set it aside intending to like come back to it a week or so later, and obviously I never came back. But I am interested in going back and finishing this one because I was really enjoying the plot, and I think that Grace D. Lee's writing is really lovely. Like, I was enjoying her descriptions of things. I was just kind of struggling to kind of keep track of who was who because the voices are so similar. I think I already took my bookmark out of this one. No, I did not. Okay, get another bookmark for the bookmark hoard. Jade War by Fonda Lee. Another series book. Not a start though. This is not the first book in the series, so I'm gonna give myself that. But this one I set aside because I was scared, and I was buddy reading it with a friend and she was also scared. And so we both stopped reading it, and now I need to restart it because I was on page 58. There's yet another bookmark, the bookmark hoard. I'm gonna set this one aside as well. So I'm very excited to read this one, but I think now it's been a few years since I read Jade City, and I think I kind of want to reread Jade City before diving into Jade War, just so I can like reacquaint myself with the world and the characters and all that good stuff, because I am so excited to continue this series. Jade City is one of my all-time favorite books now, and it's just so good. Like, the characters are so good, the politics are so good, it's all just brilliantly written and so intense and just like punched me in the heart in like the best possible way. Yeah, I definitely am excited to come back to this one. This one will be getting read. This is one of the series I would like to prioritize this year, and I am so excited to read this, but I'm also so scared to read this, and that is why it's on this list. The stack of things that are being put back on the shelf is getting kind of a little precarious. I'm gonna have to start a second stack, I think. Now, I have another one here that I've started twice and DNF'd twice. Not like full DNFs, just like I'm gonna come back to this later when I have the brain power for it. But The Secret History by Donna Tartt, I've been reading or trying to read for a project I really want to do, where I read some of the Dark Academia books on my shelves because I have a lot of them and I've never really read any of them. So I really wanted to do like a kind of taste test thing by reading all of those Dark Academia books and getting a sense of whether it's something I'm really interested in, because clearly it's something about the premises of Dark Academia books that are attracting me, because I have like 18 of them on my shelves. So this was one of the ones I wanted to get to because it is such a like quintessential Dark Academia And I am really enjoying it, but for whatever reason, I keep getting bogged down in it and just not getting to it. I think it's a little bit to do with the timing of when I'm trying to read it. So this is one I think I might save for the summer when I have a little more brain power and like mental space to deal with that. But I am really liking it. However, I think it is yet another come back and read it later. This one's not even a bookmark, that's just a receipt. Next up is Leech by Hiron Ennis, and this is, I think, the first one coming off the stack that I'm not going to take my bookmark out of and completely restart. This is a book I was listening to on audio because the audiobook is read by Abigail Thorne, who, if you're not familiar with her, she is a YouTuber who does the channel PhilosophyTube. That's her channel. But I was really enjoying the audiobook. I'm really enjoying the story. It's really mind-bending and weird, but also like kind of grotesque and also really almost kind of heartwarming in some ways. So there's just like a lot that I was loving about this. And I'm gonna just set this one aside because I think what I need to do is go back like 2 chapters and start from there, because I remember a lot of this book. It has also not been that long since I started it. I was reading this one last year, and I know exactly why this one fell by the wayside, which is that because I was listening to it on audio, I was only listening to it at work. We got to the end of the semester and I finished my work hours for the fall semester, and then I had a month off where I wasn't listening to it because I wasn't working, so I wasn't doing tedious stuff that I needed some background noise for. So then I came back a month later and I couldn't remember what was happening in the story. So I think I just want to like leave this one on the list, back up like a couple of chapters, and start again from there and continue forward, because I remember a lot of the story. I just am like, what is happening in this particular chapter? I've jumped in the middle of a conversation and I don't remember what the doctor and this other guy whose name I can't remember, priest or something, they're talking about something. I do not remember what they're talking about, and it just like dumped myself right into the beginning or the middle of a conversation. It was like, I have no idea what's happening. So I am going to be leaving this one on my currently reading, but I love this. This is such an interesting and weird book. Having a great time reading it, and this one I feel good about like leaving on the list for now. We are slowly but surely getting to the end of the stack, but next up I have Woman Eating by Claire Coda, and I really don't remember why I set this one down. This is a kind of literary look at vampires. It's about a woman who is a vampire, and she is basically living on her own for the first time, trying to fend for herself. She had a fairly overbearing mother, but she's now kind of striking out on her own for the first time ever and trying to kind of figure out how to do that, how to be a vampire in the modern world by herself without somebody else providing like sustenance for her or making sure that she stays safe. So she has to do those things for herself now. And on top of that, she's also kind of like exploring her identity, and in particular trying to like reconnect with parts of her heritage, because she has a mixed heritage. Her father was Japanese and she hasn't like known him for a very long time now. And so there's some elements of like her trying to reconnect with that side of her heritage, which I think are really interesting. And it's an interesting exploration of this woman's experience as a vampire, but I wouldn't call it like horror. And it's also got some interesting like relationships that start to kind of crop up here with the different people that she interacts with in this like first apartment that she's in. And yeah, it's just really interesting. I don't know a better word for it other than interesting, because it's an odd reading experience, I think. But I was really enjoying this one, and I don't know why I set it down. But this one is another one I'm going to set aside and come back to later, because I need to have, I think, the mental space to process this one, because there's kind of a lot going on in it. Next is Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano, which is yet another series start. This is one I am going to leave on my currently reading, because I do remember a lot of the details of this book. I'm on chapter 17, I'm like 120 pages in, and this is also one of my BookTube spin picks for this year. This is for the first BookTube spin for January to March. One of my 2 picks was this one, and I'm going to be reading this hopefully this month. So I still remember a lot of this. I started this less than a year ago, and I feel fairly good about kind of continuing on from where I'm at. But BookTube spin really got me this year. It was like, you need to get your shit together. So here's 2 books you're already reading that you need to read, because the other pick is another one on this list that I just realized I missed going through in order. But the other one is The Twyford Code by Janice Hallett, which is a book I'm going to be putting back on the shelf. This is an ARC that I have. It's an e-ARC, so I don't actually have it like physically, which is why I forgot to mention it, but it is my other BookTube spin book. I will be getting to it hopefully early in the year, but I am going to be restarting it because I don't really remember what was happening, and it was, it's a mystery. There's like a lot of details happening, and I also was just not vibing with it when I was last reading it, so I think that I really need to just kind of like give it a completely new chance and see how I get along with it now, because I think I was kind of in a slump when I was reading it the last time. Then we have A Guardian by Priest, which is the beginning of a trilogy, so yet another series start that have not continued. I did not remember being 110 pages into this. How the heck am I 110 pages into this? I'm going to be restarting this one because I don't remember what was going on. I do remember some sections of this. There's like a few scenes that really stick in my mind that were ones I really enjoyed, but I don't remember what was happening in this mystery. I think there's like 2 or 3 mysteries in each volume, but this is a like kind of paranormal, supernatural, urban fantasy mystery thing that's set in modern China, and it's following Zhao Yunlin and the other guy, Xin Wei. Getting his name backwards, it's Xin Wei and Zhao Yunlin, and they are an investigator and a professor, respectively. It's like a romance thing, but also it's urban fantasy mystery. I'm loving it. It's very fanficky vibes, and I'm having a great time reading it, but I do not remember being 110 pages in, which tells me that I should probably restart this one so that I know what the heck is going on, because I don't remember any of this. Also, another bookmark for the Horde. This is where all of my bookmarks went. They've been hiding in books on my shelves all of this time. I knew that, but also, like, this is just confirmation that that's what's happening to all of my bookmarks. Next, we have The Ex-Hex by Aaron Sterling, which is totally different from the stuff I usually read. This is a contemporary romance with fantasy elements. That's what I meant to say. This one is going to stay on the currently reading only because if I stop reading it now, this will be a permanent DNF. And it's one that I'm enjoying well enough that I would like to see how it ends. I really like the characters. I like the way that the story is dealing with the history that they have, because this is kind of a second chance romance kind of a situation where Vivian and Reese met each other many years ago and had a like summer fling until she found out that he was betrothed to somebody. He was planning to go home and have that called off because he was in love with her, but she got mad at him and told him to, you know, go away, and called him some very funny names that are mentioned in here that I very much enjoyed that bit. They're kind of meeting again years later, and she finds out that a kind of half-hearted curse that she put on him when she was angry after the breakup turned out to be a real curse, and he is now screwing up everything in the town because he was there to charge the ley lines, and it's gone horribly, horribly wrong. So they're working together to break a curse, kind of getting their second chance romance. I am enjoying it. It's fun. I think it's very like light and easy to read, but it also feels like the stakes don't really matter, so I'm kind of not intrigued enough by it to keep picking it up. So if I don't finish it now, I'm never going to finish it. And I do like the characters enough that I would like to know what happens. So I am going to go ahead and leave this on the list so that I will hopefully read it in the next little while, because I don't have that much left and it is a very fast read when I'm reading it. So that one is going to stay on the pile for now. Another one that's going to stay on the pile, I'm fairly certain, is A Restless Truth by Freya Marske, because this is one I started recently. It's not quite an active read for me, but I started this because I was planning to read the 3rd book in the series for Reindeer Readathon last month, and then I didn't actually make it through this one, but I am loving this. I love Maud, who is one of the 2 main characters. She's in the 1st book, and I love her in that book as well, but she's, you know, finally, like, gets to be the focus of this book, and I love her so much. She's such a good character. And then I also am liking the new character that she has having her romance with, Violet Debenham. Violet is such a contrast to Maud, and I love the friendship that they strike up right at the beginning of the book. So I'm having a great time reading this, and I'm very much wanting to continue with it. So that's another one that is going to stay on the list. And finally, the last book sitting on the stack. We finally made it to the end. Legends and Lattes. I'm also going to continue on with this one. This is another one that's kind of like quick and easy to read. It's very light and fluffy, and again, because the stakes don't feel real to me, I'm finding it hard to remember to like pick it up, because I'm not like, oh, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen? There's not much that's like pulling me through the story. I do really like Viv, and I've just gotten to the bit where we meet Tandri, who's the other character on the cover. I am liking it. I'm just kind of reading it a couple pages at a time. So this one's gonna go ahead and stay on the currently reading list, because if I set it aside, I may not come back to it. I've read enough of it that I probably wouldn't want to reread that section on its own. I do want to continue on with this one. I am enjoying it. It's just something that I need to like keep at the top of my kind of awareness, because otherwise I will just simply never come back to it. So that's it. That's the whole stack, and these are the books that are going to remain on my currently reading going forward. I'm much happier with this, especially because 2 of these are active reads. 2 of them I can continue, actually 3, 4, 5 of them. All of these I can continue from where I'm at. These are the longest ago that I started, and I'm, you know, fairly far into these ones, so once I get going again, these aren't going to take me that long to read. These are all going to be fairly quick as well. So I feel really good about this stack, and that is a lot less pressure, because let me show you what got taken off of the stack. This is everything that got taken off of the stack. There you go. All of those are gonna go back on the shelf to be read later. I'm trying desperately not to drop these onto the floor. So all of those are gonna go back on the shelf. I will be reading these at some point in future. There was nothing I really wanted to like permanently DNF. Hang on, I gotta adjust because this is about to be a catastrophe. There was nothing I wanted to like permanently DNF because they're all things that I am excited to read. But yeah, I feel much lighter now that these are gonna go back on the shelves for future hope to deal with down the road. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for joining me on this journey of getting my shit together for 2024. And I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments below what's on you're currently reading. Do you tend to read multiple books at a time like this, or do you read like one at a time? How do you manage your currently reading? I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting every Tuesday and Saturday, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.